when I look at pictures from like back then, and I'm just like, I don't even know. Like I'm looking at pictures of myself, and I don't even know who I am anymore. I'm
Like,
just
what
like,
was I doing? What was I wearing? Why was my hair that way?
it's insane. And like people that are that I used to go to school with will remind me of stuff, and I don't remember much of it. It was such a blur.
It happened so quickly.
Yeah.
Well, because we were also having a good time. We were having a good time. We were really finding ourselves, working things out. Our hands were in so many different things. So yeah, it moved really quick.
Yeah. Um whew. Well, it's good to see you.
Good.
I'm gonna run you through everything. Greetings and salutations. You are tuned in to Milkshake Scholar Season 2, and I have the privilege and honor of having on a friend, special guest, an aspiring motivational speaker, Christina Robinson.
Oh,
Welcome to the show, sister. It's been too long.
too long.
Too long. And you know, we will talk about you moving, but I must say that you were in DC for a good bit,
Yeah,
and you
6 years.
even called me out for not visiting. And I will say that I have no excuses, but I will say that one of my best friends, Jason Spears, who watches these, and he lived in DC. He's back in DC. He moved to New York for 2 or 3 years, and then he moved back. But even when he was in DC to begin, I had not visited him, and he gave me a lot of crap about it. So I need to do a better job of visiting people in the local area, because the one thing I do well is I will go home. I
Yeah.
will go home to Atlanta, but the if somebody's in Massachusetts or in Pennsylvania or DC, I do a bad job. And folks are like, "Yo, it's a bus ride away."
Yeah, like $15.
I got to do a better job of that. And Kevin White is at Dartmouth,
No
and
way.
so he's close by. And yeah,
Okay.
so I just gotta do a better job. He moved during the pandemic up there, so I
Mhm.
gotta do a better job of seeing folks locally.
Touching base. Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations on the new house.
Thank you.
That
Thank you.
is that's such a big deal. How you feel about it?
Honestly, it is just now starting to feel like it's mine. For the longest, I felt like I was in an Airbnb. And so I'll just like walk around and be like, oh, what if people hear me? And like, and then it doesn't feel real. But it's been what, almost 3 months. And I'm like, oh, I live here and it's mine.
Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. What I mean, so I'm 34. I always think about home ownership. What
Mhm.
made you pull the trigger? Not on that home in particular, but I'm
Sure.
doing this.
No, I'll tell you the whole thing. Everything started from a joke with my friends. And it's crazy to think almost a year later where life has led me based off a silly joke. So the pandemic hits. My girlfriends and I, we had this chat. We're texting each other every single day, all throughout. How much wine you drinking? Haha, where you get this wine from? All that, a lot of it wasn't about wine, but it started off there. All my girlfriends are in Atlanta. I'm like, if I'm gonna be stuck in the house, I might as well come home. Haha, LOL. And then it was just like, wait, I could really go home. We don't know how long this is going to be.
Mm.
Why am I still in this house or in the house in DC? Let me just go home. Called my parents. What do you all think about this? Called other friends. How does this sound? Is this too crazy? Prayed about it, fasted about it. All of this was happening before I even mentioned anything to my manager. So that was months into this whole process. I finally messaged my manager and she approved it. A week later, I was packing my stuff, throwing all my stuff on a truck, and came home. So
Wow.
I came home. I was with my parents, I think about 2 months. And I was like, all right, I need to start thinking about where am I going to go? Apartment? are the same price as apartments in DC. So I'm not necessarily saving anything.
Wait, Christina. I don't mean to cut you off. They're the same price?
They're the same.
Wow.
So I left Atlanta with 6 years ago with, certain numbers in my mind.
Yeah.
I come back and doubled and tripled.
That's insane.
I'm not saving any money. Being in apartments, and apartments are now smaller. From the South, I'm used to like large living space. And so as they're continuing to build, of course, Atlanta is full now. So everything is smaller and much more expensive. So I really had to think, is that something that I was okay with? Which I'm totally okay with renting. I love and value renting. I don't really see much of an issue with it. But my mom and my dad were like, it's time to start building something for yourself. And this is the time to do it. The rates are low. And I said, I'm just going to give it a shot. I think when they check your credit, it's like when lenders check your credit, it lasts for 90 days. So I said, I'm going to go all in for 90 days. If I find a house, awesome. If I don't, I'm going to stay in my childhood bedroom at my parents' house until I figure it out.
Yeah.
And the house buying process is brutal. Ooh. I didn't think I would be emotionally attached to a house.
Wait.
But it's brutal.
Hang on, Christina. So when you made a decision, I'm getting a house. Yeah. Did you have a location in mind? Because I know Atlanta's changed geographically. The neighborhoods are changing. Everything's gentrified.
So my realtor, she said, I trusted her. I said, I want to be close to the city. I don't have to be in like Buckhead or Midtown. Mm-hmm. Though those are like my stomping grounds, I don't have to like be right there. Something close enough to my parents there in Southwest Atlanta. But somewhere where I have access to the things that I need to have access to. Of course, not right now because we're in a full-fledged pandemic. But when the world opens up safely, then I want to be able to have access to the city. And so her whole mission was to get me as close to the Beltline as possible so that when I look to resell my house or to sell my house, the value of it, I can get much more in return. So everything was about the Beltline. Mm-hmm. Already thinking about 30 years from now.
There you go.
So we were searching, and these investors, I tell you, greedy. So you go into these homes and they're absolutely beautiful. And then you get an inspection and the inspector's like, legally, I can't tell you not to get this house. But so you go in under contracts, we're getting outbidded. The houses are actually falling apart and you don't realize that. And so I was emotionally attached to several houses before my realtor said, okay, this is enough. Let's look at new construction. And that's something I would have never considered before. I don't know, there's something about character and makes you feel a little more homey when there's, a house that has already been lived in. Mm-hmm. And so I was just like, okay, girl. I didn't trust her at first. But we came to this community. I'm the first person to live in this house. It was a show house and I loved it. Loved it. Signed my name on the dotted line, went through 2 or 3 weeks process. And I signed the house, or closed on the house December 1 of 2020. I bought a house in the pandemic.
That is amazing. Dang. Wow. Congrats again. That's amazing. I mean, like the first house is like the first car, I imagine. It's like the first car.
Oh yeah.
Oh. What do you imagine? What does so we're post-pandemic. Mm-hmm. And it's safe to, be outside and hang out with folks. What do you imagine the first get together at your place will look like?
Listen, we're going to have candle lights. We're going to have the outdoor patio upstairs lit. It's going to be hors d'oeuvres and food. So I cook. I do cook.
You do.
But everything is going to be charcuterie boards. It's just going to be fabulous. Everyone has to come dressed up. And it's going to be like fabulous.
I love it. When the pandemic started, I started cooking more.
Okay.
And so I imagine as soon as we get out of this, people getting invitations in the mail,
Oh, yeah.
handwritten invitations.
Yes.
And it's probably going to be a Friday to Sunday thing. There's going to be a meal every night, and it's going to be a different group every night. And and there's going to be a menu when folks get here, and the cookbook that it came from or the recipe going to be framed or whatever. I'm doing it.
Oh yeah. I making like specialty cocktails of like maybe different quirky things that happened during the pandemic or just something non-related. It's just going to be like extra. They're going to say, Christina. I'm like, listen, welcome to my home. Let's eat.
No doubt, no doubt. So, I too moved away from Atlanta, and I'm still away. And, we can relate in that feeling that you get when you're leaving, like the excitement that you have when you're leaving, and then trying to settle into a new city. Talk to me about what it's like now leaving and then having to settle back in your home city.
Yeah, I have to relearn Atlanta.
Wow.
Point blank, period. I go certain places, I'm like, I don't recognize this area, these people, the buildings. I mean, so much has changed. The culture that I left, though it's certainly still there, and that's why I love and appreciate Atlanta so much, but it's in a different space. And so being able to go to something I'm familiar with has been a challenge. So there's that. But also, I want to be a part of a community, and because of the pandemic, I'm restricted in that way. So I feel like I have two things that are going against me at this point. My friends are like, "Oh, this restaurant, we love that," and I'm like, "Where is it? What do they serve?" Or this location, we love to hang out. So where is it? What do they serve? So it really is um, this space where I feel like I kind of don't belong, and I have to advocate for myself. No, I'm from here, guys. I promise I'm from here, born and raised.
Wow.
But no, I'm trying to take my time and like just relearn the city altogether.
Wow.
It's weird.
I feel that when I go home, like every time I go home to visit my family, it's like the city has transformed like next level and then the next level. And I'll never forget I was meeting Vanessa actually. Me and Vanessa, every time I go home, I make a point to meet Vanessa and Yvette every time. And me and Vanessa were meeting up for brunch. And she was like, let's meet at East Point. I'm like, East Point? You want to meet at East Point?
Right.
And she's like, there's this really cute place, whatever. So we get there, and first I'm driving around East Point, and I'm like, where am I? And I'm looking on Google Maps, and it's telling me East Point, but it don't feel like East Point. Right. Not the East Point I grew up in. And then, we pull up to the spot, and I see like there's white people like just walking dogs and riding bikes and sitting down, and I'm just like, I never saw this when I was growing up ever. And it reminds me of moving here to New York. And my mom's born and raised in Brooklyn. And my mom talked about the old New York. And my friends who I know from here who grew up in Bed-Stuy and East Brooklyn, they all talk about old New York. And gentrification. And I always just took it as like, oh, well, that's your city. That's not mine. Until I moved here, and then now I'm seeing it when I go home, and I realize how gentrification works now. You see it in the school systems and where people are moving to, and like even when I'm visiting friends, it's a whole new world. And Christina, we went to school in Marietta. You seen Marietta lately?
I'm like, who did this? It's only been like 6 or 7 years. It's insane.
It's like it reminds me of when you leave home for college and you come back and your childhood bedroom is fixed up and
right. Your parents made like a gym or something. And you're like, seriously?
and then you're mad because you're thinking to yourself, why wasn't this like this when I was living here?
Why wasn't it like that? And why didn't anybody ask me if they can make any changes or updates to the city that I love so much? If you want to change Atlanta, ask me. Let's talk about it.
Oh my goodness. It's what a wow. Um yeah, it's wow. I remember speaking of changes,
Mm-hmm.
when we lived in Atlanta, the only places I would really go to for milkshakes were Haagen-Dazs, this
Mm,
place called Flip Burger, and Steak and Shake.
yeah,
And
yeah.
those were my go-to milkshake spots. And then I moved to New York, and it's just a plethora of places to go, and they're not nationally known. It's all local, and it's been a different experience. So much so that I got to plug this sister who has
Yeah.
this spot. It's called Lotus Scoop. And Christina, the name of this ice cream is a chocolate caramel rum cake.
Cake. Oh, that sounds
Rum
good.
cake. And, I know we're going to talk about health and wellness. And there's a reason why I run in the mornings. And it's because of this right here. It's
Gotta run
because of
off the rum cake.
this problem that I have called milkshakes. And I went to go see the doctor the other day, and he told me there's nothing wrong with me. I'm just getting older, and I gotta watch what I take in. So I'm trying, Christina. I am trying to watch it. But
It's hard. It's hard.
listen, I am, the milk that goes in there is Oatly's. It's an Oatly milk. So
Okay.
I'm trying to watch some of what I do here.
I dig it. I
I'm
dig
I'm
it.
trying. It's hard though. It's hard.
Have you ever made your own nut milk? So like your own almond milk or cashew milk?
Wait a minute. You got to break
Oh.
that down to me. I ain't never done that before. Break it down to me. Break it
So
down
I
to
was
me.
actually going to make a milkshake today, but I didn't have time to make my do my almond.
Wait, how do you wait? Talk to me about how you make your milk.
Yeah, so a couple of different ways. There's like a longer process and a shorter process. I'm not the most patient person in the world, so we're going to go through the shorter process. So you get like a cup of almonds. Excuse me, you boil them. So you want them to be nice and soft. I have a juicer, an Omega juicer. So you soften the almonds, like I said, boil it. Then you get spring water or distilled water, pour it in the juicer with the almonds. And then it extracts the dry almond meal, like the almond meal. So you can use that for baking or anything else. But then the juice comes out, the juice. So since it's soft, it's cold pressed. So you press the almonds with the water, you now have almond milk. And then you can add like cinnamon, maple syrup, or dates, or just like any other flavors you want. When I tell you, you can drink it warm. It is the most delicious.
Christina, you done changed the game. Like you've revolutionized my milkshake experience. Listen. I had my best friend on the other day, and I was talking to him about how he introduced me to different types of ice cream. And now you done broke it down to where not just different types of milk, but you can make it yourself. Wow.
It is so good.
Listen, for the folks watching at home, you gonna see a video soon of me making my own milk. Like we just wow. How long does that take?
Maybe 40 minutes, because you have to like really let it boil for them to get soft. Some people, they'll just let it sit, like the almonds sit in a bowl of water overnight. Like I said, I'm not that patient to do that. If I want milk, I want it now. So, but if you're patient and you can wait for the process, there's also a process. And if you don't have a juicer, if you have like a mesh cheesecloth, you do the same thing.
See, that's how I know you know what you're talking about. You talking about the mesh cheesecloth. See, that's how I know. See, I only see that kind of language in these books, these cookbooks. So that's how I know you know what you're talking about.
It's so good. I promise.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try it, and when I do, I'm gonna shoot you a message so you know.
Yes, put a video up and tag me, so I'll be like, he did it. He did it.
I have to buy a juicer first, and I'm totally down to buy one. I've been buying stuff for the kitchen, so it's just gonna be a part of the process.
It's worth it. I use that juicer for several things.
Oh, that's the bomb. Talk to me a little bit about this for this health and wellness that you've been on. I mean, when I see your posts, I'm like, I need to get my life together. That's there are there's maybe like 3 or 4 people who I know personally on Instagram who have been like trying to whip people in shape, and like not just physically but mentally, spiritually. And you one of the people. And when I see your posts, I'm like, I know I need to stop drinking these milkshakes because mentally and physically it's going to affect my life in a different way. But Christina, it's the one thing I cannot let go. Everything else,
You have to let go of it. And that's the thing. A lot of people think, oh, there's something I really enjoy: wine, beer, milkshakes, or candy. No one said to get rid of it unless, like, you really, really need to get rid of it. But there's different ways that you can alter what you're doing to still fulfill yourself in the present, but also fulfill your future self.
yeah,
It's
ooh.
okay.
Oh, educate me. See, I would take notes because I got my pen and paper here, but since this is recorded, I can just watch this over and over.
Revisit.
So talk to me a little bit about From Me to Her, your blog, and what you've been doing lately, because you've really been I feel inspired when I watch your content. I feel inspired.
That's I really appreciate it. What a major compliment. From Me to Her has been a journey. So the whole concept and idea was birthed from feeling less than. So I graduated from college. Excuse me, I graduated with my bachelor's and I was like, yeah, I'm a college graduate. Now what? What am I supposed to do? I just felt like I wasn't prepared. And so I was doing a bunch of random jobs and I felt like all my peers were outgrowing me. People were advancing in their careers and I'm just like doing a bunch of random stuff. And I got to the point where I was depressed. I was like legitly depressed. And because I'm a spiritual person, I was like praying. I was like, Lord, please pull me out of this depression. And so the concept of From Me to Her is the intentional lifestyle, the intentional decisions to become the person that you want to be. And for me, it's 3 pillars: relationships, so friendships and romantic relationships. It's my spiritual health, so the relationship I have with Christ, and then health and wellness. I think a lot of focus is on career. We go through school our whole lives. What do you want to be when you grow up? Do this so you can be this when you grow up: teacher, lawyer, doctor, right? But there isn't enough emphasis on the other parts of our lives. And so health and wellness, who you are on the inside, literally your body parts, your organs, how they function, can really, really pour into the person that you are. And so that's the whole concept of From Me to Her, is me intentionally taking the steps to be this woman that I've always wanted to be. The health and wellness kick really came in when I left Georgia the first time. So I left twice. When I left Georgia the first time and I moved to Northern Virginia, I had my dream job. I was making tons of money. It was my first time having my own space. I'm from a large family. It's 5 of us, 5 kids, my parents. So I've been in the house with 7 people my whole life. And to have my own apartment, I'm like, wow, I get to make my own decisions. What I say goes down in this house. I had control over the things that I ate. And so that is when I took the opportunity to educate myself. I was a pescatarian for several years. I really started cooking. Pinterest was my BFF. All these different recipes. And it's the best. Pinterest is the best. And so that's where my kick in health and wellness came in, is when I had control over what I did with my food and my body.
And do you think going into the pandemic, I can't speak for everyone. I can speak for myself and say that because I consider myself to be a loner, introvert.
Okay.
Even though folks will tell you the opposite, I do enjoy my alone time. And so when the pandemic started, I was okay in a way that I know a lot of other people weren't. Do you think that the health and wellness, From Me to Her, prepared you in a way for what began to happen with the lockdown and not being able to go anywhere?
Initially, yes. So it was an outlet for me. So I was posting heavy earlier on and just sharing with people, okay, if you can't find Lysol, these are natural ingredients that you can use to clean your home. If you can't find tissue at the grocery store, these are other places that you probably don't think of that you can get household items. And so I felt like I was like pouring into people, and I felt fulfilled by that because um, I knew people needed a resource. As far as working out, I know I don't have to go to a gym. I prefer being outside. I like to run anyway. So I wasn't bothered by a lot of things. It wasn't much later into the pandemic where I started to lose it. I don't mind being by myself. I still had connections with people. I had a roommate, so I could connect with people if I wanted to, I guess. But when I moved back to Atlanta in August of last year, I felt alone in a different way. And I
Mm-hmm.
was not prepared for that. Yeah. And content started to less. I couldn't post anything. I didn't have anything to talk about. I'm sitting here in my room. I mean, share what? Like I would be upset and frustrated. And it was odd because I was fighting myself because I was like, well, months ago, Christina, you were just fine. And I couldn't figure out, I couldn't tie, I wanted to make a connection between the two versions of myself. And
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out how to do it. So I just said, you know what? Social media would be fine. They'll be all right without me.
Listen, it's so that's the one thing I did learn during all of this is it's okay to take a break.
Mhm.
Because early on I was okay, and then around I think it was around like September or October was when I started to
Mhm.
feel it, and a good friend of mine like just pulled me away for 2 months, and
Wow.
it was like the first time I realized, oh, I actually need to be around people. Like this affects me in a very big way. So yeah, I'm better now. But ooh, that
That's
fall
good.
going into
Yeah.
winter, it was rough.
Oh yeah. Oh
It
yeah.
was rough. So what tell me about like what you see moving forward for you. You know, you got the crib, you're home, and you know, there's talk that the vaccines will be distributed evenly across the board by the end of May, but who knows? Um, Going in, I'll say like 2022. What are you thinking for yourself as far as for me to her goes? Do you think that the way we've been living for this past or during this pandemic will inform the work that you're doing moving forward?
It will. So professionally, I work with a tech company. That's my 9 to 5. I enjoy what I do professionally. Is it the last thing Christina Robinson's gonna do? No. So there are things that I have up my sleeve, so to speak. I think the challenging part is I'm such an A++ personality. I'm a planner, and if the pandemic has taught me anything, I still believe that there is major value in planning, but I don't need to hold on to my plan so tight.
Mm,
And so it's the blueprint is out there, or I'm working on the blueprint, so to say, because with I think a solid blueprint, you can make the changes that, need to be made when the time comes. So as far as next year, the following year, my plan is to mature in my craft, to grow in my craft, and to spread it where hopefully more people have access to what it is that I'm sharing. I do want to get to a point, as you mentioned earlier in the conversation, where I have the platform to be a motivational speaker. It's something that I'm like so passionate about. And so hopefully those doors will continue to open, and that I've taken this time to mature my craft. So when the
mhm.
door opens, I will be prepared. And so that's the loose plan for myself.
Yeah. I you know, that's motivational speaking is like, oh, it's an art, but it's also a joy when you know that that's in your bag, you know. Especially when you think about high school students and middle school students, like people, especially Black kids that are coming up who need to see somebody in a position such as yours, like they need that, you know. So
Mhm.
that's going to be very important work for you for sure. more important for them, as important for them. Tell me something. I know that you're probably the best person to ask about this, so that's why I'm asking you.
I'm scared.
I'm trying to start a vision board, and I do not know where to start. Help a brother out. Now, the vision board, I don't know if I want the vision board. No, I know. I want the vision board to be for Milkshake Scholar. So, what are some tips, if you will? What are some tips to get me started on the beginner's level? Because I know you like an expert boy. Like you might be an expert. I need baby steps.
Okay. Now that I'm on the spot, I think the first thing to consider is think outside of the board. Don't just limit your thought to what are the pages or pictures or words that I can put on this board here, or whatever shape, or, it doesn't have to be a square or rectangle. Keep that in mind. How do you want to feel? What is important to you? What is it that you're trying to achieve? Who are you trying to reach? I think when people think of vision boards, they say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I want to, I don't know, have more muscles. And I want a house. Okay, those are great. Absolutely. Put those 3 things there. But how are you going to get the house? Are you going to talk about you saving money? Are you going to talk about what area you want? I mean, you can't just put a house anywhere. Where do you want this house? Do you want it to be a townhome? Do you want it to be a condo? What do you want? And so it can't just be this one thing. It has to be, what are the ingredients that make this milkshake? All right. So think about it.
Oh, look at you.
Let me write this down somewhere. What are the ingredients that I'm using to get to this end result? And so you can be super creative and have fun with it. I think people think it's a chore. Like, all right, it's the beginning of the year. I have to do a vision board. No, this is your life we're talking about. Have fun with it. Be creative with it. And so if we want to stick with that concept of the ingredients for this part of your life, what you're doing with this business venture is, all right, the ingredients. Am I, looking to take this on the road? What will that look like? Am I looking to only interview friends, or do I want to get to the point where I'm interviewing other business owners or celebrities or the restaurant owners themselves? Do I want to get to that point? Do I want to be on TV, on a network, have my own network? And then if those are the end results, what are the ingredients that will get me to that space? And so the vision board should be the full vision. And keep that in mind as you're moving forward.
Listen, sure, we about to have you doing motivational speeches for Milkshake Scholar. I see it. I already see it. Boom.
And that's because you put me on the spot. I had to like.
I got you. Listen, the last thing I want to talk to you about is the song that plays during the opening credits of your biopic. What is that song?
Okay, are you ready for this?
I'm ready. You done got me hyped.
More dramatic than I need to be. So the song that I get really excited about hearing, and I think if they were to play at the beginning, they're gonna be like, "Oh snap!" is "Moment for Life" by Nicki Minaj.
See, yes, that works. See, you know what see, you done got me excited. See, what I love about that question, it is everyone that I've asked that question to that's been on this show has, one, brought out a part of their personality that I can see. But 2, and most importantly, now I want to see people's biopics. Like, let's get a camera crew in here. I can see that. I love that song. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Moment. I'm so excited. And just quickly, what I think is so special about that song is there are several moments in your life. I think we always think of just like this one moment that just like is right up here. And I think as you're growing and maturing and you're changing and you're developing and you're becoming one person this decade of your life and another, there are several moments for life that can be You don't have to limit it to just, I got married, I had kids, I bought a house.
Yeah.
You are somebody outside of those three things.
Yeah.
And that's something that I had to personally um, take in and appreciate about life. And as I'm learning myself as I move forward, I want to be married one day. I want to have kids one day, but I can't pour everything into that one. It takes two people to do that. But I can't pour my who I am as a person into just those two things. And so I had to develop other moments in my life that I can be super excited about and super proud of. So
I love that. I love that. Listen, and you know, it's you're absolutely correct. I was actually talking to a friend about this earlier,
Mhm.
that you can, like, there, it's just a series of things that keep happening. And yes, like, do they help you become the person you're going to be at 30 and then 40? Absolutely. But you know, you can separate those moments. There's more than one. It's okay.
Yeah, it's
I
all
like that. I
right.
love it. I love it. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. It's such a pleasure. Such a pleasure. I feel like we back at school.
Yeah, newspaper crew and everything.
Listen. I was listen. That feels like such a long time ago. I still do. I don't even. Someone mentioned like something I did back in the day that was memorable to them, and I'm just like, I don't even remember. I
Really?
don't even. I don't know. I think when I moved here,
Hmm.
I like, for me, I was on such a high when I moved here, like everything that I had done when I was there and like making my family really proud, that when I moved here, I knew that I couldn't ride that wave forever. And so my goal when I moved here was, okay, that was great. And I was so present in that moment, and I'm very grateful for that, for everything that happened. But I also want to make sure that I don't forget about the current present and what
Hmm.
happens next. So that's where I've been. And you know, it's brought me a lot of joy because it's taken the pressure off of me, because um you know, people just had this expectation of what I would do next.
Yeah.
And I think for me, my expectation was just to take a deep breath,
Hmm.
and just, if I don't want to do anything or be in the public eye, or I don't have to be. I don't have to do newspaper anymore. I don't have to be a journalist. I don't have to be an editor. I can just, I don't know, like work on TV or like in the back, you
Yeah.
know, or work in an office and just be one of the people and not be a leader anymore. Like, I'm totally fine. I was so burnt out from leading a group of people
Yeah.
that I just wanted to follow. I just wanted to be a sponge.
That's real though.
Yeah.
That's real. And that is where you're in tune with yourself, when you can make those sorts of personal decisions. That's really tough, because when you do have pressure from other people and you feel like there's like a certain level that I have to continue to rise to, that's exhausting. And though there's beauty in that, I mean, that people value you in a way that they want to see you to continue to move forward, but that is exhausting. And
Mm,
so recognizing that I can still bring so much to the table, I just don't have to be at the head of the table.
yeah.
I think that's magical. I tell you, in school, of course, we all saw you as like, this head puncho guy. And I think the most magical moment that I had with you,
Uh
you
oh.
know what I'm about to say.
I don't. I don't.
It was actually when both of us had graduated, but you came back and you did the commencement speech. I think, was it 2014
It was
or so?
2014. Yep.
2014. And I
Yeah.
was there for some peers' graduation, and I didn't even know you were going to speak. And I was like, hey, I know that guy. I'm so cool. Hey, I know that guy. And you got up there and you did the most like authentic, real, down to earth, very professional, super prestige. It was just like everything that you could imagine was all in one setting. And I was just like, to be able to grab the attention of hundreds of people, you've already graduated from this particular school. It was I don't know, I felt like I got to know you and we weren't even talking. You were talking at us, you know, or to us. But I felt like I got to know you better because I saw who you were at that moment.
Yeah.
It was super special.
Oh my God. Like I just remember I remember that day like afterwards. And I was very fortunate, like very, very fortunate to have people there from like all points in my life, from like when I was 5 and 6 to 12. And when I dropped out of school, there were like people that I used to work with that were there. And I don't know, it just everyone was so excited for me, and I remember this, and this is how I knew that moment was special, is I was even more excited for them because I was in my head, I'm thinking you all are the reason why I'm here right now. So this is this is your work. I'm just the vessel, or whatever the case. So yeah, that was a wow. That was a wild time. Um I still haven't, since that like period, since moving to New York, I still haven't done a full just go back and think about it. I just kind of, it
What it
was
was.
I tied it up and I was like, this is beautiful, and I put it away. And yeah, I'm in New York. And what's been great is the one thing that came out of just moving and being away, for like being detached from undergrad, is traveling.
Okay.
And traveling's been, and I've been doing it solo, which has been scary,
I was gonna
weird.
say, okay, how do you decide I'm gonna go on a trip by myself, but this is where I'm going, this is what I'm gonna do? What does that look like?
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because you said a word earlier that's very important, which is intentional.
Mm-hmm.
And early on, I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. So for me, the intention was just to do it, and it was less about like the details. So I'll tell you exactly what happened. I was in a library. I was on 16th Street. I was in a library, and we had the next week off at work because I worked at a school. And everyone's telling me that they're traveling and doing this and that. Some people are staying home. Some people are going to see family. And I think it was May, and I'm telling myself, Randy, you've always wanted to travel. You're in New York. From New York, you can literally go anywhere in the world, and
Yeah.
it's cheaper because there are so many flights that come in and out of here. So the first thing I did was I signed up for Airbnb. So I signed up for Airbnb, and there's a deeper conversation to be had about racism and discrimination, but we're not gonna have that right now because
Not
it's
this,
gonna take
not
away
this
from the story.
episode.
But it was definitely something I thought about as I was filling out the profile, because I'm thinking to myself, what if these people discriminate against me because of how I look? But anyway, with confidence, I filled out that profile and I started looking at flights. So I had two windows open. I had the Airbnb window and I had the flight. I forgot the name of the site. And I'm looking at the cheapest flights for that Friday. It's Thursday, Christina. I'm looking at cheap flights for that Friday.
Next.
So no, actually no, it was Saturday morning. I'm tripping because yeah, it was Saturday morning. So I'm looking at flights. I'm looking, and I see something in London. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was around $150, 200 round trip. It was super cheap.
Yeah.
And it was this airline that no longer exists, just to let you know what the flight
I
experience.
was about to be like, let me find out.
And so I found the flight, and before I purchased it, I went on Airbnb and I started looking at the spaces. And Christina, I grew up, we came from nothing, and I'm bougie now. When it comes to spaces, like, I'm not bougie about anything else. Like food, I'll eat at Wendy's if I have to. Clothes, I'll wear some pajamas on the plane. But when it comes to staying somewhere while I'm on vacation,
Mm-hmm.
it's gotta be nice. It's gotta
Oh,
be
yeah.
nice. So I'm on Airbnb and I'm like, okay, I see that the flight cheap, but
Mm-hmm.
how these spaces looking? And I found a space that was really nice. It was in Vox Hill. And so, sent out the message, got approved. I was really excited about that because I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, they're not being racist right now. So
Mm-hmm.
cool. And yeah, I was on the flight, and I tell you, the one, as you asked me earlier about like what thought process goes into it, I'll say the disadvantage that I had was that I had not done my research before I got there. So did I have a great time? Absolutely. Did I get to see some beautiful like sights and do fun stuff? Absolutely. But there were a lot of things that I missed because I didn't do my research before I left. It was on the whim. So yeah, and ever since then, I've traveled and gone other places and have been more intentional about where I'm going. But I'm still that, as you mentioned, that word intentional. There are still other things that I can do to be more intentional because you probably know this, but as a traveler, when you're going to these different cities, like tourism affects the locals, not always in a positive manner. And so just being aware of what me traveling and being in this space means for these people is something
Wow.
that I'm
So
thinking
even
more
thinking
about,
about the
especially,
other.
yeah. So that's
Good.
where that's where I am. I've been traveling a lot. Milkshake Scholar is great. But the travel has been my jam for a minute now. We'll see what happens. I don't know if you had Optimum when you were in DC, but I'm on Optimum internet. So, after about 40 minutes, they're like, all right,
They're like, we had enough.
we need to mess his internet up. So, but I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's been great. I've really enjoyed this.
Yes. I'll shoot you a message once I get off of here, and we'll chop it up offline.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
See you, Christina. Oh, Christina.
Yes,
Uh,
yes,
even though I'm frozen, you're not frozen. Please plug your stuff so people know where to find you.
yes. So you can find me on Instagram at From Me to Her, and my blog is FromMeToHer.com. It is a lifestyle blog. So I look forward to meeting you all there.
Boom. Thank you. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.